Hi you guys, today we're going to go over the 4.3 lesson, and it's on adding and subtracting rationals. Now, so far we've worked on multiplication and division with rationals. This is a little more difficult, and we're going to talk about why. So when we add fractions, we cannot just add across. We can't just do 1 plus 5 is 6 over 6, and then 2 plus 6 is 8, right? That doesn't work. When you add fractions, you need a common denominator, okay? Need common denominator. So, to get the common denominator to add fractions, the easiest way is just to look at the two denominators that you have. Hold on. So over here, our denominator is 6. Well, we can multiply this 2 by 6, but we also need to do it to the top. So we're going to multiply this fraction by 6 over 6 to get a common denominator. And then we have 5/6 over here. Well, right here we have a 2. So, and right now 6 times 2 is 12, and we only have a 6 over here. So we need 6 times 2 to get 12, but we also need to multiply that by the numerator, because what does 6 over 6 simplify to? Just 1. What does 2 over 2 simplify to? 1, right? So even though our fractions are going to look different, they are equivalent to the original problem. So here we do 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12. Well, isn't 6/12 equal to 1/2? Yes. So it looks different, but it is the same, just a different denominator. And up here we're going to do 5 times 2, which is 10, and then 6 times 2 is 12. So now that we have a common denominator, we can use that down there, and then we just do 6 plus 10, which is 16. So 1/2 plus 5 over 6 is actually equal to 16 over 12. So main thing, you need a common denominator, and that's essentially what we're going to be doing with rationals. So it's going to look kind of complicated, but as long as you remember this idea of getting a common denominator, you look at your first denominator, you look at your second denominator. If this one's 6, we're going to multiply the first fraction by 6 over 6. If this denominator is 2, we're going to multiply the second fraction by 2 over 2. And then solve from there. Okay? Okay, so adding rationals. So here, we have an example using numbers. So it's essentially what I just showed you. But if we have 2/3 plus 1/7, we need a common denominator. Well, we're going to take this first fraction, and since this denominator is 7, we're going to multiply 2/3 by 7 over 7. Then we're going to look at our second fraction. Okay, 1/7. Well, since this number is 3, we're going to multiply this second fraction by 3 over 3. And then to multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. So you get 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 7 is 21. 1 times 3 is 3. 7 times 3 is 21. And then, so here we're just multiply fractions would be this step. It's really hard to write with this marker. Fractions. Okay. Okay. And then here we're going to write as one fraction. Write as one fraction. Okay. Now, you just do 14 plus 3. So we're just simplifying. That gives you 17 over 21. Okay, so we're going to take this same idea and we're going to apply it to rational expressions. So these fractions look a lot scarier because they have variables in them, but you can do it. So we look at our first fraction, which is 1 over x. So we rewrite 1 over x over here. Now, we're going to multiply our first fraction by x plus 1 over x plus 1 because this denominator over here is x plus 1. Then we keep our addition sign. Our second fraction is 2 over x plus 1, and we're going to multiply this guy by x over x since this denominator over here is x plus x. Okay, now we need to multiply our fractions. So I'm just going to write our common denominators down here really fast. X over x plus 1 plus x times x plus 1 right there. Okay. All right. Now we need to multiply the fractions, which we did in the denominator. Now we need to do the numerator. Be careful with the numerator because see how here we have a 1. I'm going to write it off to the side. 1 times x plus 1. Well, we need to distribute this number. So 1 times x is x. 1 times 1 is a positive 1, so we're going to put plus 1. Okay, now 2 times x is just 2x. Okay, next step, we're going to write it as one fraction. So our denominator, we're going to make it as 1, so we have x times x plus 1. And then on the top, we have x plus 1 plus 2x. The last step is to simplify. Well, x plus 2x is 3x, and then we have plus 1. That's over our denominator, so 3x plus 1 is the answer. So, we're given a problem. We find a common denominator. We multiply the fractions. Write it as one fraction, and then simplify. Let's do another example. Okay, so here we have another rational expression. So the first thing that we need to do is determine what we need to multiply by to get a common denominator. Well, look, we're going to write our first fraction, which is 1 over 2x. Check. And since this denominator is 3x plus 2, we're going to do 3x plus 2 over 3x plus 2 times our first fraction. Okay. Then we look at our second fraction. Well, we're going to multiply it by 2x over 2x because the denominator over here is 2x. So when we do that, I'm not going to write this because it took me forever, but we're just multiplying everything out, okay? So, remember, you have to, like, distribute this 1, okay? So we have, well, first let me just write the common denominator. It's going to be 2x over... Sorry, 2x times 3x plus 2. You don't need to multiply out the denominator. Just leave it like that. It will save you so much time. And then we're going to write the common denominator over here, which is also 2x times 3x plus 2. Okay? Okay, let's distribute. 1 times 3x, 3x. 1 times 2 is just 2. Now, 3 times 2x. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, and then we have an x. Okay, so now we're going to write it as one fraction. So we're going to have our common denominator on the bottom, which is 2x times 3x plus 2. And then we're going to just write this all as one numerator, 3x plus 2. And then since this is plus, we're just going to put plus 6x. And then we need to simplify, so we need to combine our like terms. Well, 3x plus 6x is 9x, and then we have plus 2. all over our common denominator of 2x times 3x plus 2. Okay, not too bad. I'm going to teach you a little shortcut on the next problem. So we're still adding here, okay? Instead of doing this step where we like write them as separate fractions and then combine them, we can combine them right away, okay? I'm going to use this whole space. So to, oops. Uh-oh, I don't know how to undo that. Well, oh, eraser. Okay. So, we're going to write it as one fraction right from the start. So my common denominator, look, on both sides we have x plus 3 times 4x plus 7, okay? So I'm going to do x plus 3 times 4x plus 7. Okay? Now, I totally skipped this step, but we're taking our first fraction, multiplying by 4x plus 7 over 4x plus 7 because that is what the denominator is over here. We're taking our second fraction and multiplying by x plus 3 over x plus 3 because that is what the denominator is on this side. Okay, now we got to multiply our fractions down here. So remember, we're like distributing this one. So 1 times 4x is just 4x. 1 times 7 is just 7. Okay, since we have a plus sign right here, we're going to put a plus sign in between these. X times x, well, x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. And it's a positive 3x, so we put plus 3x, okay? Last step, we just simplify. So x squared, nothing simplifies, so we just put x squared right there. 4x plus 3x gives you 7x right there, and then we have a 7 all over our common denominator. So, like I said, I skipped a step. I didn't write them separately like I did right here. I just wrote it as one big fraction right away. It's a little bit of a shortcut for you. Okay, we're going to move on to subtracting rationals, but before we do that, I want to review an idea. So here we have 2x plus 5 minus a negative 6x plus 8. Well, before we can subtract all of this, we have to distribute the negative, right? So our 2x plus 5 stays the same, but then we have this negative. So we're like multiplying this negative times this negative. Well, negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. So we're going to have minus 8. And then you can simplify. So you'd get what? Like 8x minus 3. Okay? And that would be in simplified form. But you need to remember this idea of distributing the negative. Or you can think of like changing the sign of everything in the parentheses. Okay? Because we have to do that when we subtract rationals. Let's look at an example. So here, it just shows you how you get the common denominator again. That part is the same from addition. So our first fraction was 7 over 8. And then if this denominator is 5, we're going to multiply by 5 over 5. And then minus our second fraction, which is 3/5. Well, since this is 8, we're going to multiply this by 8 over 8. We do 7 times 5, which is 35 over 40, minus 3 times 8 is 24 over 40. Subtract them and go from there. Okay? So, let's do that again. So here, we have our first fraction, 2x over 2x plus 2. Well, we're going to multiply that by x plus 3 over x plus 3 because that's the denominator of this second fraction. Okay, so when we do that, we're going to get our common denominator, which is 2x plus 2 times x plus 3. Okay, now let's find the numerator. So 2x times x is a 2x 2x squared. 2x times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So we're going to have plus 6x. Okay. Then minus 6 times 2. Oh, it got cut off. This should be 2x plus 2. And this is also 2x plus 2. Sorry, that got cut off, so make sure you do that, because this denominator is 2x plus 2. Okay? Well, 6 times 2x is 12x. And 6 times 2 is 12. All over our common denominator, which is x plus 3 times 2x plus 2. Okay? Okay. Let's rewrite it as one fraction, just like we did with our 35 minus 24 over 40. We're going to rewrite this whole thing as one fraction. So we get 2x squared plus 6x. Okay, this is where we have to be careful of that negative. So we have a subtraction sign. So we're going to put a subtraction sign. But we're subtracting all of that numerator, which is 12x plus 12. So I'm going to put it in parentheses so that I don't forget to distribute that negative. Okay, hold on. So we get x plus 3 and times 2x plus 2. Okay? Okay. So when we're going to write off to the side for a second. When we distribute that negative, we end up with 2x squared plus 6x. Negative times a positive 12x is going to be minus 12x. Negative times a positive is minus 12. All over the denominator. Of x plus 3 times 2x plus, there we go, 2. Okay, so when we simplify, we're going to end up with 2x squared. 6x minus 12x is going to be a minus 6x minus 12. Now, they factored a 2 out. That's how they got this answer, but if you leave it just like this, that is perfect. You don't need to simplify it more. So you get 2x plus 2. Okay? All right. Oh. Okay, we're going to do one more subtracting one, and then you are all set to do your homework. So, 2x plus 3 over x plus 2, well, we're going to multiply by 4x over 4x, since that's our denominator over here. We have subtraction, 3 over 4x times x plus 2 over x plus 2, since that's the denominator over here. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to do that shortcut with subtraction, even when you have to distribute the negative, okay? So here, remember, we kind of have to, like, distribute this number in. So, well, let's write our common denominator first. Our common denominator is just going to be 4x with x times x plus 2. Okay, now on top of our division sign, we're doing 4x times 2x, which is 8x squared. Then we do 4x times 3, which is 12x. Okay, this is where you have to be careful with it being subtraction. So we're putting a subtraction sign there, and then we need to put parentheses because we're subtracting everything that we're about to write. Well, 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, now you have to distribute that negative, so you're going to end up with 8x squared plus 12x. Well, minus 3x, right? And then don't forget, you also have to distribute it to this 6 over here. So if we have a positive 6, it's going to become negative 6 all over 4x times x plus 2. Okay, when you combine your like terms, you get 8x squared. 12x minus 3x is 9x down here, and then minus 6, so that's your answer. I said I was going to make videos for the homework. I'm not going to do that, but the answer key is on there. Keep watching these examples if you need some more help. Make sure you do your exit ticket, and I think that's it. Have a good day. I'll see you on Thursday.